Good morning, Card Media's RJ, back with another video, so let's get to it. Today's random Mike Schmidt item of the day from 1986 Donruss Highlights. Card of Mike Schmidt. This is from a product called Donruss Rookies and Highlights. There's a separate box set outside of the regular release. And it highlights, obviously, a highlight of the previous year in Mike's career. He became the all-time leader in RBIs for the Phillies. Right here, he hit number, what was it? He 1,288 for his career, moving one past Ed Delahanty as the all-time RBI leader. Mike was the all-time leader in most offensive categories, primarily because he played his entire 18-year career. If you consider the few games he played in 72, he played his entire 18-year career with the Phillies. No other player has to this date played longer with the Phillies than Mike Schmidt. So clearly he had the ability to rack up those statistics. In fact, Jimmy Rollins was able to pass him on hits because Jimmy was a better hitter, frankly. Plus, he was a leadoff hitter. So, yeah, Mike's going to hold a lot of Phillies all-time records for a long time until somebody else is brave enough to sign with the Phillies and stay with them for a long time. So there's my random Mike Schmidt item of the day. Today's random baseball item of the day from 1986 Donruss. Pop-up card of Lou Whitaker. Lou was one of those guys I think a lot of us in the card community believe should be in the Hall of Fame. In fact, I think he was a better player than Alan Trammell, to be quite honest with you. This is from the 1986 All-Star cards of Donruss, those 3x5. They randomly inserted one of these pop-up cards inside every pack of your All-Star cards, which was a separate product, and it was honoring the 1985 All-Star starters from the Metrodome. And in fact, here it even says right there, Minnesota 1985, up there on the little scoreboard shot. And you can see the dome. But the Lou Whitaker pop-up from 1986. Shout out to Mr. Lou Whitaker. Hopefully he gets into the Hall of Fame in the near future. All right. Today's trivia question. On this date, July the 23rd, 1890, this player becomes the first player in Major League history to accumulate 100 home runs. Name him. What you're playing for? Again, 3 awesome Hall of Fame cards. 2013, I believe. 2013 Panini Cooperstown, Bob Gibson. Topps Archives of Cal Ripken. Down goes Frazier. Sorry about that. This is a 2023 Topps Archives of Mr. Ripken. And then a Conlon collection card of Al Simmons, little known, oftentimes forgotten Hall of Famer for the Philadelphia Athletics. A lot of times he was called Bucket Foot Al because of his odd stance, but he is a longtime Hall of Famer, Al Simmons. Those are the cards you're playing for. All you need to do is shoot me an email with a guess to that question. I will include my email in the description below, along with a repeat of that question. You will have today and tomorrow to answer. We will pick a winner on Sunday, all right? Good luck to everybody on that one. So today what I want to show off, it's Kidz Korner again. I like to do the Kidz Korner again. I don't think many people are watching. In fact, I know they're not. I average about 50 views a video. That's fine. I do this because I enjoy it. And I have a group of people who continuously watch, and I appreciate them. But I try my best to make a difference in the hobby. And one thing is I'm constantly trying to give advice to parents and other people how to get your kids involved. And one of the things that occurred to me is if you want to get your kids involved in the hobby, buy them inexpensive things to pique their interest. For example, 1992 Donruss set, 1992 score, or 1992 Fleer. What am I saying? What I'm saying is buy yourself a Junk Wax era complete set. Why? Junk Wax era cards are incredibly inexpensive. I went on the Bay and looked. Every single major manufacturer's complete set from 1987 through 1992, except for the Upper Deck the first edition Upper Deck set, will hold that one out. Every one of them can be had for under $20. Every single one of them. If you go to a flea market yard sale, you can get them cheaper than that. I swear, you can find a complete set of 1990 Donruss for $1 in some places. 1990 Fleer too. Those are two of the most disgusting looking sets I've ever seen in my life. They're very inexpensive. And just let the kids open the darn thing up and play with them. Hand it to the kid and say, here, take a look at these awesome cards. Just give them a pack of cards and say, go play. Don't worry about if they bend them in half, spit on them, dump them in their food, whatever. Just give them the cards. Tell them to look at them and say, and then they'll ask you, hey, who is this guy? And you could say, Eric Hansen. I remember Eric Hansen. I remember he took a perfect game into the 9th inning with 2 outs until Ken Phelps gave up. He gave a home run to Ken Phelps. Or Darryl Strawberry. I remember him being on the Mets. He was fantastic. Or any of these other things. Just Lonnie Smith. He's the guy who jumped ship to go to every World Series he could. Give them the kids these cards. Let them thumb through them. And, if you're wondering if there really is any value, let me show you some of the things I started doing. So I finally, after many years and watching everybody else do it, I said, finally, I bit the bullet and I started the PSA set registry of post-war Hall of Famers, okay? So every rookie card issued from after 1945, essentially starting with the 48 leaf set, Bowman and Fleer and those sets. Not Bowman and Fleer, Bowman and Leaf, and then eventually getting into tops. So I started that. But consider the guys who are available for really inexpensive prices in the Junk Wax era and the Hall of Famers you can get. So here's Barry Larkin. Barry Larkin's rookie card is a 1987 Fleer. You might ask yourself, well, gee, why do you have it in a 5? To be quite honest with you, I didn't care what the grade was. I just sent this in because I had this in my own personal collection. Probably could have bought a PSA 5 less expensive than I purchased it for, but I enjoyed the thrill of the submission. Edgar Martinez in a PSA 10. This one I actually purchased. I didn't buy it. And it was incredibly inexpensive. You want to get a Hall of Fame rookie card. And you can do this with your kids. You can buy these sets and go through them and pull out these rookie cards and tell them, hey, take a look on the eBay how much this card is selling for in pristine condition. And chances are, if you buy a set that's still factory sealed and you crack it and you go through it, maybe your Edgar Martinez will be in pristine condition. Who knows? Don't yell at me if that's not the case. I'm not saying it will be the case. Here's actually an update one from John Smoltz, but still. Again, all of these Junk Wax era cards are so incredibly inexpensive. 1988 score. 1988 through like 1992 score, every one of them was like a $5 set. In fact, I saw on the Bay where they were selling 2 sets for like, $5 because the scores were so overproduced. And here's a Tom Glavine from Score. This is the one that's in the PSA set registry, so you can buy yourself a 1988 Score set for $5. Pull out the Glavine rookie card, get it slabbed. You could probably more than make up your money if you get a good grade on it. Here is a traded card, but still, here's your Roberto Alomar. Now, again, Upper Deck is not one that is under $20 for the 1989 set, but here's a 89 Randy Johnson. And again, I didn't quote the Bowman, but I know that the early Bowmans, 1989 through about 1992 Bowman, maybe just 1991, but they're dirt cheap because they're so overproduced and they just look ugly. And even though this big name Hall of Famers, they just don't translate well into value. So here's the Jim Thome, very inexpensive card. So again, buy yourself a 1991 Bowman set, pull out the Thome, get it slabbed. And again, the whole point here is to do this with your kids. Now, I'm going to Leaf. Leaf's a little bit different. This Leaf set from 1990 is not the parallel of the Donruss. It was actually a high-end brand. Leaf used its own name as opposed to the Donruss name on this one. Everybody remembers the Frank Thomas was the hot card of the Leaf set in 1990. Then you have your Fleer Ultra. Even the early Ultras were crap. Here's the 91 Ultra update, Mike Mussina rookie card. But all of these awesome sets are so inexpensive. You could buy a whole bunch of them for next to nothing. And again, the whole point is everybody, the reason I'm doing this is because 2-3 months back, people started to talk about how we're going to get kids back in the hobby. And the only way to get kids back in the hobby is to make it interesting for them. And how you're going to make it interesting for them if all you do is show off these incredible cards that they can't touch. Kids don't want to just look at things, they want to play with things. Here's the final edition, the 1991 Upper Deck Final Edition set that includes this Pedro Martinez. Can be had any day, all day for $5 or less. That little box of 100 cards, Upper Deck Final Edition, easily $5 and less all day long. And then you can pull it out if you want to get it slabbed. But it's more of the concept that why don't you sit down with your kids, pull out one of these awesome old sets and look through them. So here's the 92 Fleer. And as an insert in the 92 Fleer, they had this great little subset. You can see it's numbered differently. There's 24 cards, and it was the Performer collection. Came with the factory set, and it's some of the greatest stars there ever were. And the whole stinking set is less than $20. So you got Nolan Ryan, Frank Thomas, Ryan Sandberg. So far, they're all Hall of Famers. Ken Griffey Jr., Cal Ripken, Clemens, who should be a Hall of Famer, Cecil Fielder, okay, you can't get them all, Dave Justice, Wade Boggs, Tony Gwynn, Kirby Puckett, Darryl Strawberry, Jose Canseco, Barry Larkin, Terry Pendleton coming off a MVP season. That's why he's in here. Donnie Baseball, who a lot of people think should be in there. Here's a great picture. Take a look at this one. Take a look at this fantastic photo of Ricky Henderson. It's got the magic number there in the background. Looks like they're actually setting up for an after the game celebration or something there. Ruben Sierra, young Jeff Bagwell, very young looking Jeff Bagwell. Tom Glavine, Ramon Martinez, not Pedro, Will Clark, who was still the thrill at that time, Barry Bonds, and Roberto Alomar. So that's some of the cool stuff you had in your Fleer. What else is in the Fleer? Here's another little subset that was included. This is all part of the factory set. Smoke and Heat, another cool little insert set. Smoke and Heat, Lee Smith, Jack McDowell, David Cohn, Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan again, Scott Erickson, Tom Glavine, Dwight Gooden, Andy Bennis, Steve Avery, Randy Johnson, and just looking nasty, and then Jim Abbott. Get this card. $20 for the whole set, less than $20 for the whole set, and tell your kid about Jim Abbott and his hand. That Jim Abbott, even with that disability, threw a no-hitter for the New York Yankees, for goodness sake. I don't know if, yep, they still had their awesome, Fleer was known for their awesome double, story cards in the back in the early days. So super siblings, Superstar Specials, the Super Siblings, Roberto and Sandy Alomar. The Indispensables, I don't know about that, Bobby Bone and Will Clark, who knows. Teamwork, Mark Wohlers, Kent Merker, and Alejandro Pena, I believe they were all pitchers. Tiger Tandems, I'm not even sure what that means. I have no idea what that even means. Here you go, the Igniters, Paul Molitor and Brett Butler. The Indispensables #2, Cal Ripken and Joe Carter. Here's a nice one, Power Packs, Kirby and Barry Larkin. Today and Tomorrow, Mo Vaughn and Cecil Fielder. Ouch. Teenage Sensations. There you go, it's a cool one. Designated Hitters, Baines and Boggs. And then this was the start of those Provision cards that you got with Fleer. Oh, I shouldn't say it was, I think they were doing it for earlier years too, but Robin Yount. Here's your Junior. Nolan Ryan. These were actually part of the base set at the time. They were not inserts. Interesting, Nolan Ryan, they got all these check marks, I suppose, of his strikeouts. Ripken, he's getting close. He's getting close to Ripken's record there. Love the Frank Thomas. Little dynamite inside the bat. And then Dave Justice, kind of like the tomahawk chop. So, again, these are awesome cards. The junk wax era, why don't we like it? We don't like it because it's not valuable. We don't like it because it's got absolutely zero worth. So we don't even ever look at these cards. Most of us have them on our shelves because we collected them and then we just put them there. And most of us never even open the dang cards again. Trying to get out. Oop, there I go again. I'm just going to let that one go. So, again, I'm here just trying to tell you this is the way to get your kids back in the hobby. It doesn't cost you much at all. In fact, probably, again, you probably all have these sets. Even if you have the sets, if you've got little kids and you want to get them interested in the hobby, you've got to be willing to give them something that they can touch, that they can handle without yelling at them because they might damage it. If you've got a set that you've had for 30 years and it's 1992 Donruss, give it to your kids and walk away. If they destroy it and just, if they eat the cards, go buy another one. It's $5. There's a billion of them out there. But get the kids interested in the hobby. Let your kids play with the cards. That's why they exist. People call it the junk wax era. Maybe you could call it the let the kids tear them apart era. I don't know, I'm just being stupid. But again, you see, I hope you understand my point. That is my video for the day. I hope you appreciated that. And again, I was just showing off a couple sets from 92. What I just said is true from every set from 97 through 92. I'm sorry, from 87 through 92. Not counting the Upper Deck 89 set. Everybody else, cheap as hell. Buy them, give them to your kids, walk away, let them develop a love for the hobby, all right? Appreciate you all watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please consider like, subscribe, comment, get all that jazz. I really do appreciate your support as I try my best to support everybody else in the great card community, all right? Thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your week. Hope to see you again on Friday and Sunday. Thanks a lot. Take care.